mega missile muscle. India's military drill in eastern sector. The roar of IAF jets to rattle China. Big Indian airflex over Tawang. Top focus on 5 Live.
India is about to test its most ambitious missile. It's the longest range missile test ever in India's weapons program. And I'm going to be telling you what we know about that test so far. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Shiv Aroor. These are the headlines. Big breakthrough in Shraddha Walkar murder case. Bones recovered from Delhi's Mehrauli forest match her father's DNA, and blood samples found in Aftab's kitchen and bathroom also 100% match. Days after India-China clash in Tawang, Indian Air Force flex in eastern sector rattles China. 2-day command-level exercise to test capabilities on the China front today. Politics continues over India-China showdown in Tawang sector. Congress and AIMIM take aim at Modi government, demand debate on Chinese transgressions in parliament. Death toll in Bihar Hooch tragedy mounts to 39. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar blames Hooch victims, says if you drink liquor, you will die. Hints at no compensation for victims. BJP hits out, calls Nitish insensitive. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar shuts down China and Pakistan, and how? Tells Pakistan that a nation which hosts terrorists like Osama bin Laden has no place to sermonize at the United Nations. Bilawal Bhutto totally exposed and snubbed before the world.
On the challenge of terrorism, even as the world is coming together with a more collective response, multilateral platforms are being misused to justify and protect perpetrators.
The most ambitious missile test ever conducted by India is about to happen any time now. It may be in the next couple of hours, but it has to happen between today and tomorrow. Because take a look at this map that has been put out by open source intelligence and satellite imagery analyst Detresfa. This is an image that captures the huge no-fly zone that has been notified by India. Take a look at where it begins from the east coast of India, all the way across the Bay of Bengal, all the way deep into the Indian Ocean, and then a few thousand kilometers off the west coast of Australia. That's how big this entire no-fly zone is. It measures over 5,400 kilometers, and it has led to a huge amount of speculation as to what missile this is that is being tested. Is it an existing weapon system, or is it a much more advanced, extended range version of India's nuclear arsenal? That's the big question we're asking. We're going to tell you everything we know about it. But first, this is about India's deterrent might. This is not conventional defense. This is nuclear defense. These are weapons which India hopes never need to be used, but they play their role in nuclear deterrence. The Indian Air Force and the Indian Strategic Forces Command are gearing up to conduct a 5,400-kilometer missile test, the largest scale consolidated test over the Bay of Bengal. India has put out a no-fly area warning for December 15th to 16th from the Abdul Kalam Island off the coast of Odisha. Reports suggest it will be a test either of the existing Agni-V or a longer range version of the Agni or K series submarine-launched ballistic missiles. A test which is easily one of China's biggest worries. In fact, they've also commented on it quite a bit in the past. The Agni-V is currently India's longest range nuclear-capable delivery system. It's the fifth in the series of medium and long-range nuclear-capable ballistic missiles. They're land-launched, fully developed and built here in India. They're also in service with India's Strategic Forces Command, which is our nuclear authority. The missile was first tested in 2012, with subsequent tests being conducted many years later. The Indian Air Force is also, meanwhile, remember, carrying out a two-day training exercise in the northeast with an aim to check the combat readiness of its aircraft. Now let's tell you what the possible scenarios are for this big missile test that's about to take place. Remember, the no-fly zone, the NOTAM, has been issued for December 15th and 16th. That means between today and tomorrow, that missile is expected to be tested. Scenario number one, the biggest likelihood that we have on the table right now is that this is going to be a test of the existing Agni-V, which sports a range of 5,500 kilometers. The second scenario is that this could be a test of the submarine-launched K4, submarine-launched ballistic missile, which sports a range of about 3,500 kilometers, which is far less than the extent of the no-fly zone that has been notified. Scenario number three, could this possibly be a new Agni series missile, possibly something called the Agni-6, because that is a missile which sports a range of between 8,000 and 10,000 kilometers, nearer to the intercontinental ballistic range. But we don't know that for sure just yet. It seems a possibility, at least theoretically. And finally, scenario number four, could this be a longer range version of India's nuclear-launched ballistic missiles, nuclear submarine-launched ballistic missiles called the K5, which is said to have a range of about 5,500 kilometers. So that's what we're looking at right now. It is by far India's longest range missile test that has ever been contemplated or conducted. No-fly zone notification before this has ever, at least in recent memory, seen this kind of depth into the Indian Ocean. And that's the reason why it has set tongues wagging. It's got the world sitting up, certainly has China sitting up and wondering, what is this missile that is being tested at this point of time? Well, between today and tomorrow, we will know. While we wait for more information about that missile test, India Today now brings you this exclusive ground report from just 10 kilometers away from Bumla in Tawang. It's a border pass between Tibet and India's Tawang district in Arunachal Pradesh. We tell you about the troop build-up on the Chinese side of the border and the mirror deployment of the Indian Army on the Indian side. Listen in.
At an altitude of about 12,500 feet, the India Today team is currently at the Sangatsar Lake. This is not very far from the line of actual control. In fact, the waterfalls and holy lakes in this region are one of the principal reasons for the friction between India and China. Now, lakes and waterfalls around Yangtze. Now, Tibetans on the other side of the line of actual control also consider this extremely holy. The Tibetans on this side, they visit these holy waters and they pray there. Now, India dominates these heights. If you look around, look at those jagged peaks right behind me. These altitudes are anything between 12,500 go all the way up to 17,500, and this is where the army is now deployed in big numbers. India Today is the only channel to come so close to the line of actual control near Bumla in Tawang on the axis to Yangtze. Now, these are three different axes where we are reporting from ground zero to be able to get you an assessment of the deployment on the Indian side and the preparedness on the Indian side. That preparation is whether it's the infrastructure development, building civilian areas also. In fact, at the Sangatsar Lake, while you see a lot of military deployment, you also see civilian vehicles here, because the effort of the administration here is to ensure that civilians, whether in Arunachal Pradesh or from the rest of the country, also are stakeholders in protecting India's territorial integrity. And that is why the Sangatsar project is extremely significant. Religion, strategy, military and location. Multiple reasons why China is desperate to come into this area. Equally important, why India is very keen to hold on to this territory, and this leads to friction. There are about 8 friction points in this area. Yangtze perhaps the most sensitive of those 8. But even now, there is massive deployment. That's what sources are telling India today. There is massive deployment on the other side of the line of actual control, and equal numbers on this side to ensure that peace prevails. And peace at the line of actual control comes from power. With cameraman Yogendra Singh at the Sangatsar Lake in Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh, Gaurav Sawant for India Today. Multiple waterfalls and 108 lakes in this part of Tawang form the bone of contention between China and India around the line of actual control in this region. Now, these waterfalls and lakes are considered holy by the people of Tibet. They are on the Indian side of the line of actual control. People from Tibet want this holy water. China has desperately tried to control the 108 lakes and the waterfalls. It is said that one of the spiritual leaders of Tibet had sprinkled his prayer beads, and wherever those prayer beads fell, 108 lakes were formed in those areas. The people here worship this water. China has repeatedly tried to take control of the access to these lakes. China has repeatedly failed, like it did at Yangtze. And this is one reason where analysts argue that China will attempt again, and that is why Indian forces are now deployed in numbers to ensure China does not succeed in violating, unilaterally changing the course of the line of actual control. With cameraman Yogendra Singh at Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
And now I want to return to our big story that India Today broke a couple of days ago about this big missile test that is being conducted somewhere between December 15th, that's today, and December 16th, which is tomorrow. What kind of missile could this be? Well, we can be reasonably certain that it is a ballistic missile. It's a long-range ballistic missile, but never before, and I want to emphasize this, viewer, never before has India notified such a large no-fly zone for a missile test. To try and make sense of this, I'm bringing on to our coverage now Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain, a very well-known defense veteran and analyst. Also with us is Captain D.K. Sharma, veteran of the Indian Navy. He used to be their spokesperson. Welcome to you both. Okay, I think we've lost that line with General Hasnain. So I'll start with Captain D.K. Sharma. Sir, huge no-fly zone notified by the by the Indian government, the establishment, over 5,400 kilometers. We do know that the Agni-V missile has a stated range of about 5,500 kilometers. But the notification has led to a great deal of speculation about whether this is another test of the Agni-V, which has never seen such a large no-fly zone, or is it something more? What can you share with us, and what do you think, sir?
Good evening, Shiv, and good evening to all your viewers. You see this no-fly zone which you're saying, this is a notice to airmen and mariners.
Yeah.
And this is a clear intent of the country of India, Indian Navy, and the testing organization that there is something which is going to happen. And this is the area of influence. Now, whether it is for 1,000 kilometers or 7,000 kilometers or 10,000 kilometers, that is best known to the people who are going to conduct this test. But yes, taking into account, and by the way, Shiv, this NOTAM has been, or the NAV area, which we call in the Navy, it is issued 15 to 20 days in advance so that all the mariners and all the aircraft which are flying over this area
Yes.
have adequate notice and warning that they should not be surprised at the nth hour. And let me tell you, at this point in time, there will be a lot of surveillance also launched by the Indian Navy with all the assets so that this test goes, and there will be a lot of telemetric stations who will be doing all the kind of recordings of whatever is being fired. I'm not privy to it, but yes, this is a clear indication that something is going to happen, and people remain away from here, right from the smallest fishermen to the merchant marines and all of the people who are exercising or transiting through that area. Please clear off. That is what is the intention of this no-fly zone, or whatever we call as the nav area warning, promulgated for this huge amount of area.
How is it enforced, Captain? Just out of curiosity, because this is such an enormous stretch of ocean. India sends out this notification. How is it enforced? Do other countries also have to enforce it in their waters?
I'll tell you. This is now, since India has issued. So this is a nav area 8 coordinator, which is comes as the area of responsibility of India. So for sure, Indian Navy and other assets would have been deployed maybe 5 days, 6 days in advance, so that they reach each and every area. And believe you me, they would have scanned and given all clear. I don't know what time is the T time HR, that what time it is going to be pushed, the missile is going to be fired. But before that, all reports will be taken. There will be for sure P8Is in air. There will be Sea Guardians somewhere. There will be ships who will have the marked areas. Depending upon their radar coverage, there will be overlapping zones in which ship A, for example, a Sayadri or a Satpura or a Jalashwa, they will all be there. I'm just randomly taking the names of the ships, but all the ships will have a duty to ensure and give all green. Till the time the all green is there, I do not think that the decision will be taken at Gopalpur at sea to even, press the button.
Captain, just two more questions. India's Strategic Forces Command already has operational weapon systems. This is in the public domain. There's nothing classified about it. The Agni series of missiles, including the Agni-V, which happens to be the longest range missile, is already in operational service. It has been tested quite a few times also. But there's a great deal of curiosity, sir, about our submarine-launched ballistic missiles, because those usually happen with a degree of secrecy. India recently, publicly announced the launch of what is believed to be a K-15 missile. So could it theoretically be that this particular test could be a submarine launch test as well?
Shiv, to be very honest with you, I do not want to speculate. Everything will come out. There is nothing hidden. But yes, the test which was done a few days back by the submarine was put out by the government. So I'm sure once the results are out and all the telemetry things, whatever they want, the desired results are met, of course, they will, in some form or the other, they will let the country know that this is now a success, and now it clears to join the inventory. And at this point, it's very, premature for me to say that whether it is being fired from shore or a ship or a sub, and so on and so forth.
Last question then, and this is once again out of curiosity, because these things better, Captain, which is that at 5,500 kilometers, this NOTAM basically is a stretch of ocean which goes all the way down to off the west coast of Australia. So theoretically, when the missile splashes down, obviously it's without a warhead. What happens then? How is it assessed how successful the test has been? Apart from telemetry and observations, do one of our ships actually go there? Do we recover the missile? What happens then?
No, there is nothing. The splash point, of course, will be videographed 100%. So that is why I've told you 6-7 days prior to this test of whatever time is the HR, ships must have moved out. They will be in station. They will have adequate redundancy on the telemetry systems. And of course, you will find someday, not today, tomorrow, day after, someday you will find that this is how the test was conducted. And here was the splash point, because we also need to reassure our teams that, well done, boys, this is how it was. It was fired from here. It touched the sea surface at this point. So this is the range which we have achieved. so on and so forth. Shiv, all this is not, for me, it's not correct to say, but all this is recorded, and no doubt about it, all videographs, all photographs you will see, the flight path you will see, and of course, the people, the scientists, they need to study this, that what happened, and if, if there is any deviation, that is why you see that area is so broad. If it is down in length, it is 5,400 kilometers. If you see it at the broadest, it is again 2,000 kilometers. So everything has to be checked. And yes, ships will be there, telemetry stations will be there, and it's all wired, and it will be monitored in the ops rooms wherever they have set it up.
We're going to have to wait and see what this is, and we wish, all of our personnel in the Strategic Forces Command, the Navy, the Air Force, the DRDO, and all the establishments involved, the Integrated Test Range, etc., the very best for what appears to be easily one of our most ambitious tests. Each test is taken with the highest degree of professionalism. Yes, Captain?
And from my side also, all the very best guys, you have been on it. And these are the strategic deterrence weapons which we need. And and we are seeing what is happening in the geopolitical domain, geostrategic domain. So all this is much required, and actually required yesterday.
Salute to all of our teams, and we'll keep our viewers posted as soon as we know what precisely this is. The government will be expected to, of course, make an announcement on what missile has been tested. You'll be the first to know here on India Today. Captain D.K. Sharma, always a privilege, sir. Thank you so much for your time here and giving us your wisdom so that we are better prepared to, see what's happening and understand the implications of it. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shiv. Thank you.
In what would be a major boost, meanwhile, for India's submarine building capability. Remember, the missile test that I was just telling you about could very well theoretically be launched from a nuclear submarine. But India is also looking at building its own nuclear attack submarines within the country. That's why 4 made in India nuclear-powered attack submarines are in the pipeline. Take a look.
As the world watches, India is closing out the decade, but standing up a hugely hostile China in Ladakh. But there is another sinister intrusion this decade, from 7 years ago, that still has the security establishment in action mode. A solitary 2-month patrol by a Chinese submarine in late 2013 came as a rude wake-up call. China's most advanced SSN, a Shang class, conducted a 2-month anti-piracy patrol in the Indian Ocean, and nothing could be done about it. Indian intelligence assessments said the deployment seriously aggravated India's security concerns. And that's why, in early 2014, the strategic establishment blew the dust of a decade-old secret file. A file containing a proposal for India to build a fleet of ferocious underwater predators. India's first nuclear-powered attack submarines. 7 years later, Chinese aggressions in Ladakh and elsewhere have added urgency to the program. The case for 6 indigenously built Project 76 nuclear-powered attack submarines, displacing over 6,000 tons each and costing over 14,000 crore each, is now pending with the government and likely to move forward in 2021. Armed with torpedoes and cruise missiles that can strike targets on land and at sea. These submarines will be powered by nuclear reactors, assuring them tremendous speed and almost unlimited underwater endurance. The Indian Navy currently has just 1 nuclear-powered attack submarine, the INS Chakra, loaned from Russia, but needs at least 6. And that's where the Indian program comes in. Nuclear-powered attack submarines are like multi-role fighter jets. The Navy's INS Chakra, for instance, can run underwater at speeds of close to 30 knots, more than twice the speed of conventional diesel-electric submarines, stock and hunt warships, and attack shore targets. But like fighter jets, their performance lies in their propulsion plant. In this case, a high-output nuclear reactor which can cope with the tremendous bursts of sustained speed without degrading reactor output. While the Indian nuclear-powered attack submarine project will take some years, the Navy has opened up talks for the lease of another Aquila-class submarine from Russia for over $2 billion. These agile, high-speed attack submarines are very different from the only indigenous nuclear submarine currently in Indian service. So let's quickly sum up India's nuclear submarine plan. India has one nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine in service, with a second to be commissioned next year. On the nuclear-powered attack submarine front, India has Russian Akula-2 submarine on lease. We'll be getting an identical one to replace it in 2022, and is meanwhile awaiting government clearance for a homegrown project to build 6 similar submarines in India. The true strength of nuclear-powered submarines, it must be always said, is when they don't need to be activated. It is their presence that deters the adversary. But with an adversary that has already tasted the saline waters of the Indian Ocean and is far ahead in terms of capability and numbers, India has a lot of catching up to do.
And that's not the only thing the Indian Navy has to look forward to. In fact, after this very short break, we're going to tell you about another big historic move that's just been made by the Indian Navy. They've opened their doors of the special forces to women. We'll tell you about that next.
India Today exit poll silences all.
The BJP is set to record history in Gujarat.
Projected total tsunami in Gujarat.
The biggest ever BJP victory in Gujarat.
Only poll calling Congress win in Himachal.
Congress 30 to 40 seats in this election.
Validated, vindicated, victorious. When you are an outlier, it shows. No herd mentality, 100% courage and ability.
Access My India Today group exec poll. Once again.
Strength of conviction proved again.
We have the most accurate pollster with us.
The only pollster picked it absolutely bang on.
The gold standard of getting it right.
Seeing the slowdown in the West, do you think the IT sector in India, your company as well as your partner companies, you were talking about TCS, Wipro, are they going to face some headwinds in the time to come?
Look, I can't comment on other companies.
Yeah, okay.
I'll comment on us. If you look at what we are seeing, even through analysts, and what we are seeing play out in India, we really don't see that recessionary or inflationary trend in India yet. We don't see it.
Yeah.
Now, we all should be cautious about anything. We should be always on the lookout. But I think what we are seeing probably as some of the concerns in Western Europe and others, we haven't quite seen it at that level here. And I think if you look at the news over the last few days with analysts who probably are much smarter than me at making predictions, they are actually putting out a lot more, bullish outlook in terms of where they see India going.
Yeah.
But irrespective of all of that, right? Let's look at history and let's see what's happened in COVID. Technology, by its very nature, will continue to play a deflationary flavor in any economy where we operate, because technology actually enables companies, clients to get a lot more efficient. There's a lot of investment that is happening currently on automation, both in terms of automating IT processes, business processes, finding new ways of driving efficiencies, finding ways of creating new revenue pools.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. And so that's sort of the way I look at the world.
Let's talk about the work environment. I mean, what are your views on work from home, work from office? I mean, that's something everybody wants to know about.
So look, I think the way we are approaching this is we are approaching and having a level of flexibility that enables where it's appropriate to work from home. But actually, as you see, just behind you, our SOC, very difficult to do this from home. So where appropriate, we have people coming in. There are, I think our sales teams and people who are working with clients, they've been back into the office environment for a long time. So we will, I think, continue to see how that evolves over a period of time.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Another glass ceiling has been shattered in the Indian military, which is showing the way for so many countries. In a historic move, we can now confirm to you that the Indian Navy has decided to open the doors of its elite special forces, the Marine Commandos, to women for the first time. This development allows them, women, to serve as commandos for the first time in any of the three defense services, starting with the Indian Navy. The Air Force has also signaled it will be allowing it, and then the Army. Truly a watershed moment. Take a look.
Women in India now have a golden opportunity to serve the nation as commandos. In a historic move, the Indian Navy has decided to welcome women into the elite special forces. The special forces in all three defense services have so long been male-dominated. But this decision by the Indian Navy will make way for the women to step up. Undergo rigorous training and prove their merit to be a Marine Commando, a part of the Special Forces team. Marine Commandos, or Marcos in short, are a group of officers who conduct warfare at sea. They are trained to carry out intense covert operations against enemy warship, specialized in diving operations, surveillance and reconnaissance missions, installations of offshore assets and supporting naval operations. They work under extreme secrecy and are capable of fighting terrorists in maritime environment. A naval officer was quoted saying, "Women in the Navy can now become Marine Commandos if they choose to and meet the criteria. This is truly a watershed in India's military history." Women officers who join the Navy as Agni-Vs next year will now have the option to volunteer to become the Marcos. Officials from the Navy believe this step will further help in strengthening our forces. Bureau Report, India Today.
And Navy Chief Admiral Hari Kumar also spoke to India Today's Nabila Jamal about women power in the Indian Navy. This was right before the decision that was taken broke in the media. Take a look.
I have with me the Navy Chief, Admiral Hari Kumar, joining me to give us a little sense on the Navy when it comes to women, sir. We're very excited to join the Navy. We've heard women in the past as well, wanting to experience what a warship would look like. And there was a time when warships had only male toilets, is what we hear. Today, under you as well, we see a lot more warm reception to women at large. Would you like to tell us, what do we expect for women in the Navy?
Yeah, we have made substantial progress in the induction of women. The induction of women officers had started as early as 1991, but it was in specific cadres, in specific branches and so on. So it was a little bit restrictive at that point of time. We have now decided that we provide equal opportunities for everyone. So therefore, we are opening all branches across the board for officers, which will happen from the next season onwards, from June 23.
Right.
And as far as women are concerned, in the ranks, the first time we are opening the ranks for women. We are a progressive and I would say gender-neutral force, and this Agni-V scheme, Agnipath scheme, which has just been started.
Right.
The first Agni-Veers have reported already for training, and we had an overwhelming response, and we had looked at being open for women as well. Just to put statistics correct, we had almost 10 lakh applicants, out of which about 82,000 plus were women.
Wow.
And just for 3,000 vacancies, and in that we now have about 340 odd women who have been given call letters, and many have already reported. The training process has just started.
Right.
So we are looking at them as soldiers. We're not differentiating them.
I actually wanted to ask you, when you say that you've opened it up to women this time, what is it in your view you look at a woman's quality and what she could bring to the table when it comes to emboldening the Navy force for India?
We are not looking at any specific qualities other than the ability to do the job that is required on board a ship. We look at them as combatants, so they should be able to do the task that is expected of them, whether it's in ordnance or whether it's in weapons or whether it is in sensors, whether it's maintenance, whether it's running the machinery. So they should be able to do the task that is expected. And there are a whole lot of whole ship evolutions also, whether it is seamanship, whether it is firefighting, damage control. So in all these aspects, we only look at whether the person is capable of fulfilling the task that is required on board. If they are, then they have a place there.
So would you say women are more meticulous? I'm being gender biased here. Women are more meticulous in your sense?
I wouldn't like to comment on that, because we don't look at, we only look at the ability, whether the person is able to do the job. So meticulous performance of one's duty is expected of every single soldier or sailor who is there on board. So therefore, that is a basic requirement of and what is expected of any and every person who is in the military.
And coming up next, is there a big rift in the Karnataka BJP just weeks before elections in the big southern state? We have a political exclusive coming up. Volkswagen Taygun and Skoda Kushaq topped the list with a 5-star rating. These SUVs got a score of 29.64 out of a maximum 34 points for adult occupant safety and 42 out of a maximum 49 points for child occupant protection. The Volkswagen Tiguan is priced between 11.56 lakh to 18.96 lakh rupees, while the Skoda is priced between 11.59 lakh and 19.69 lakh rupees. Also on the list is the Mahindra Scorpio N SUV, which scored 29.25 points out of a total of 34 in adult occupant protection tests. The starting price for the base model is 11.99 lakh rupees. Next is another Mahindra SUV, the XUV 700. The automaker's flagship SUV base model costs around 13.45 lakh rupees. Tata Punch earned a 5-star rating for adult protection, while for child occupant protection it received a 4-star rating. The Punch's body shell is also classified as stable and strong enough to resist additional loads. The car is priced between 6 lakh and 9.54 lakh rupees and comes in 30 different variants. Next in line is another Mahindra vehicle, the XUV 300. Both adult and child occupant protection for the Mahindra XUV 300 were awarded 5 stars and its body shell a stable rating. The car is priced between 8.41 lakh and 14.07 lakh rupees. Tata's Altroz is the only hatchback in India to have secured the highest safety rating. India's best-selling SUV, the Tata Nexon, also secured a 5-star rating. The Mahindra Thar also received a 4-star rating, while the Honda City is the only Indian sedan that made it to the list of safest cars with a 4-star rating. On the other hand, 3 models of Maruti, the Swift, Espresso and Ignis, scored only 1 star each. On the whole, the rise in safety tests and rankings have pushed automakers towards advanced safety protocols and technology in their vehicles. Bureau Report, Business Today Television. Karnataka elections are just a few weeks away, but there are rumbles within the ruling BJP of Karnataka. Former Karnataka Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa has reportedly been snubbed by the state BJP unit after he wasn't invited to a BJP event in Koppal district, which in many ways is unthinkable. Yediyurappa wasn't invited to the inauguration of the BJP Bhavan in Koppal district, which was being attended by BJP National President J.P. Nadda. Remember that Yediyurappa was drafted into the parliamentary board just earlier this year. Sources claim that a disappointed Yediyurappa had to be convinced to attend the event later by BJP MP Arun Singh. While Yediyurappa attended the event, BJP MLA K.S. Ishwarappa has accepted that there is a rift within the BJP, saying, like any other party, there was a rift within the BJP as well. A huge claim to make. Meanwhile, Yediyurappa has rejected the rift, claiming, saying there was no rift within the party and he was not in the running for the party's chief ministerial face. Take a look at the reactions.
ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಭಾವಿಕವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಭಿನ್ನಾಭಿಪ್ರಾಯ ಇರೋದೇನು ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಇದೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಪೊಲಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಲೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಬಿಜೆಪಿಲೂ ಇದೆ.
ಭಾರತೀಯ ಜನತಾ ಪಾರ್ಟಿಯನ್ನ ಹಗಲು ರಾತ್ರಿ ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆಸಿ ಕಟ್ಟಿರುವಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುವಂಥ ಸಂಗತಿ. ಇಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರಾದರೂ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ನೆಗ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ಈ ಥರ ಮಾತುಗಳು ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅರ್ಥ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಆ ಥರ ಯಾವುದೇ ಪ್ರಸಂಗ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಒಟ್ಟಾಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಒಗ್ಗಟ್ಟಾಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಒಂದಾಗಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಏಕೈಕ ಗುರಿ ಬರುವಂಥ ದಿವಸಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಜೆಪಿನ ಅಧಿಕಾರಕ್ಕೆ ತರುವುದು.
ಅದು ಶುದ್ಧ ಸುಳ್ಳು. ಸರ್ವೋಚ್ಚ ನಾಯಕರಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಮುಂದಿಟ್ಟುಕೊಂಡೇ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅವರ ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ ನಮಗಿದೆ. ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಡ್ಡಾಜಿಯವರ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ತಂದೆ ಮಗನ ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇದೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ಕಾರಣಕ್ಕೂ ಯಾವುದೇ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಊಹೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನಿರಾಶೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
Sagai Raj and Nabila Jamal both joining me, both looking at Karnataka developments very, very closely. Sagai, Ishwarappa, a bit of a motor mouth, on the usual day, saying there is a rift in the BJP. He says there is a real problem, and that is the reason why Yediyurappa was not invited for this event.
Yeah, absolutely. Off late, if you notice that B.S. Yediyurappa was not seen in several events of BJP, and few of the events the BJP had given an excuse saying that it was a government program and we cannot invite B.S. Yediyurappa for all those programs. And what we also get to learn is this particular program was a big event in Koppal district of Karnataka, where J.P. Nadda is inaugurating around 10 BJP Bhavan across the district and also addressing a huge public rally. And B.S. Yediyurappa's name was not included in that particular event. And the party leaders have realized that B.S. Yediyurappa was unhappy. And even Shiv, when B.S. Yediyurappa went to Gujarat, when the swearing-in ceremony happened, even at that point of time, Basavaraj Bommai was in Gujarat. Both of them travelled, but in different flights. Despite there were empty chairs in the special aircraft which was used by Basavaraj Bommai, B.S. Yediyurappa did not travel in that particular aircraft. In fact, what we also get to learn that Basavaraj had asked B.S. Yediyurappa to accompany him in that special aircraft, but B.S. Yediyurappa had said that he had to meet several leaders in Gujarat and he might take more time and he would like to take a regular flight. And Basavaraj Bommai came in the special aircraft where one or two people were seated and the rest seats were empty. This clearly shows that all is not well between Basavaraj Bommai and B.S. Yediyurappa.
But how are they going to navigate it? Nabila, what are you hearing? They're putting up a brave face, showing some unity in front of the cameras. But for someone to come out and say there is a rift, taking separate flights, not being invited to an event where J.P. Nadda is there, I mean, this can't be a coincidence.
Absolutely, Shiv. One can call it a slip or a miss, but not inviting someone as big as B.S. Yediyurappa in a state like Karnataka when he's known as the biggest leader, mass leader that the BJP can really boast of in the face of a Congress who has huge mass leaders like a Siddaramaiah and D.K. Shiv Kumar. To face them, it's only a B.S. Yediyurappa who can really uplift the BJP and boost its prospects this election. Sidelining him will mean doomsday for the BJP in Karnataka. It's the huge Lingayat community sway that he holds, and it appears this time, for the first time, B.S. Yediyurappa has expressed his displeasure. If you hear very closely in his reaction to it, B.S. Yediyurappa says, yes, I was invited last minute, but that's all right. Now that I'm here, nobody can finish me off. Very subtle coded words that he said, you can't finish me off, try all you want. If at all B.S. Yediyurappa slacks while campaigning this time during 4 elections ahead in Karnataka, Shiv, one can only imagine what will happen to the BJP, because you have the Chief Minister Bommai himself not very sure of his victory in his constituency.
And this is important because remember that a lot of spotlight is thrown on the divisions within the Congress party, but here you've got rifts within the BJP bubbling to the surface. But let me also tell you about what's happening in the Congress party, because that feud is very, very public and has been for a while. Because as elections draw closer, the politics between who will be the chief ministerial face of the Karnataka Congress has reached fever pitch. Siddaramaiah on the one side or Congress state chief D.K. Shiv Kumar, who've been locking horns to be the face for the upcoming election. While Siddaramaiah himself and his supporters have claimed that the people of Karnataka want him to be the next chief ministerial candidate, Siddaramaiah further defied the party diktat and openly asked for an unannounced candidate to be the candidate in the upcoming election. This is in defiance to D.K. Shiv Kumar, who announced that only the party high command would announce ticket distribution and candidature. Meanwhile, the Karnataka BJP has slammed the Congress ironically calling it a power cancer. The BJP claims the Congress is split into DK Shivakumar faction and Siddaramaiah faction, leading to this ugly tussle between supporters of both leaders.
We need to accept the age. See, there's a retirement age in for a government employee 60 years. See, already our senior leader, Yediyurappa, made way for the younger leaders. Similarly, let them do it in their party also. Already younger generations have come, third generation, fourth generation, all of them have come. And I don't feel he's relevant to this time. He's completely outdated. He should become more of a mentor than becoming an aspirant. His aspiration, he keeps placing his request. People are there to decide who is right, who is wrong. And people will choose who should become the chief minister of the state. So he has made his request. It is his right. He will keep making his demands. So we have got nothing to do with that.
Sagai Siddaramaiah cutting a cake that says next chief minister is one thing, but announcing candidates before the all-important high command has had its say is open defiance. You know, is this going to be a problem for him?
A problem for any other leader, but probably not for Siddaramaiah. The kind of clout that he enjoys amongst the other leaders in AICC, Shiv, remember that Siddaramaiah is one of the mass leaders in Karnataka, but there are a lot of trouble for him ahead of 2023 election because Mallikarjun Kharge is an old-time Congress and old school Congress, and along with him is DK Shivakumar, G. Parmeshwar and several other leaders. Remember, Siddaramaiah had jumped from JDS party to Congress, and on the other day then there was a meeting in Delhi and Randeep Surjewala was addressing the media, Shiv, when there was questions which was being raised. Two of them, Siddaramaiah and DK Shivakumar, were standing next to each other, next to Randeep Surjewala. There was a question which was being raised by the media reports or media personals asking who will be the next chief minister candidate. That's when Surjewala says that we will go on a Congress phase. There is no chief minister candidate. Siddaramaiah was quite upset with Surjewala with this particular statement, where he had asked Surjewala he shouldn't have made this statement. Rather, he should have told everybody is in the contest to become the chief minister candidate. You know, he's quite upset with this development, but we need to wait and watch how it is.
Because the Congress, Nabila, the Congress keeps saying collective leadership, collective leadership. You can say that 6 months or 1 year before an election. You can't say that 2-3 months before an election. At the end of the day, it's going to have to be one person or the other. They both have very strong personalities. They both have mass followings. That lack of clarity could damage the Congress.
You know, Shiv, it's far from the truth. There is no collective leadership when it comes to Karnataka Congress. Yes, they're very strong individual leaders, but they're not really team players. As much as we see here, Siddaramaiah, you know, loosely announcing 5 candidates' name over the last few months is really in complete defiance of the Congress party in Karnataka and DK Shivkumar's decision to open up the process to invite candidates to pay up about 2 lakh rupees and register themselves. And if they are worthy of it, then they'll be selected and given seats. This was a process, a formal process that DK Shivkumar said was being carried out to fill the party's coffers in the state.
Yeah.
Now it clearly looks like a complete sham because you have Siddaramaiah announcing candidates on his own while DK Shivkumar floated a whole process of selecting candidates which was more streamlined. Clearly we're looking at a clash and there's really no one to fix it as yet.
One just wonders whether it's going to come to a head and actually become even more public than it already is, or will they be able to contain it? It's it's crazy. I've met both these leaders, and like both Saga and Nabila confirm, they have no shortage of mass following. They also have no shortage of personality. So whether this blows up in the Congress's face remains to be seen. Luckily, there are still a few months to go for the elections for both the parties to correct these rifts. Thanks very much to the both of you for joining me on this. Remember, India Today is Karnataka's #1 channel, and we continue to put the big spotlight on everything that's happening in the state there. That's it on 5 Live. Thanks for watching. Coming up next, 6 p.m. Prime with Akshita. Big breakthrough in the Shraddha Walkar murder case. A story that India Today broke earlier today and set the news agenda. Blood and bone found in the Mehrauli forests of Delhi. The DNA matches. That's the big story.
No one had anticipated that you would be getting 4.28 lakh passengers traveling per day. No one had anticipated that we would be breaking pre-COVID levels. Having said that, this is truly and clearly the responsibility of the airport manager.
The Civil Aviation Minister, in an exclusive conversation with India Today Group, making it clear that it was contingent on the airport to manage the tsunami of crowds. However, even as Indians crowd the airport in a rush for winter holidays and to celebrate with their loved ones, the sentries at the airport gates find their holiday plans shattered. In what seems to be a knee-jerk decision, all leaves and even the weekly offs of these security personnel have been cancelled. In its efforts to raise the passenger handling capacity, the Home Ministry has also deployed additional CISF personnel to man the 2 new passenger gates and the 3 new baggage checking counters.
Duty of CISF goes far and beyond airports. Airports, if at all, is a one segment of the duties that CISF performs for our nation. So I cannot talk about the leave ratios for CISF as an institution across the nation. All that I can say to you is that there is no shortage of CISF personnel in terms of manning our airports across our country.
Interestingly, one of the biggest causes of delay, according to CISF officials, is the fact that passengers are openly flouting the 1 cabin baggage rule and carrying several bags, increasing the load on the baggage check counters. Meanwhile, a shocking report by the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Transport, Tourism and Culture, tabled in Parliament, shows that the CISF is owed more than 5,000 crore rupees for deployment at airports. The panel has recommended that the Civil Aviation Ministry work out a payment plan with states and other organizations.
Now, the issue of the economic cost of the 5,000 crores due, that's a money matter. But that money matter is not going to come in the way of CISF personnel manning each and every one of our locations at our airports.
This despite the fact that for each domestic flight,